as a perennial activity. After we have witnessed a sneak preview of this portal, we now move on to the segment of today's function that we have all been waiting for. May I now request Honorable Chief Justice, Dr. Justice Dhananjay Chandrachud, to address this august gathering.
नमस्कार. माझे सहकारी न्यायाधीश श्री भूषण गवई, श्री अभय ओक, श्री दीपंकर दत्तो, श्री उज्ज्वल भुयान, श्री प्रसन्ना वराळे, महाराष्ट्राचे मुख्यमंत्री माननीय श्री एकनाथजी शिंदे, मुंबई उच्च न्यायालयाचे मुख्य न्यायाधीश श्री देवेंद्र उपाध्याय, मुंबई उच्च न्यायालयाचे माजी मुख्य न्यायाधीश श्री मोहित शहाजी, मुंबई उच्च न्यायालयातून बाकी उच्च न्यायालयाचे मुख्य न्यायाधीश, पंजाब आणि हरियाणा उच्च न्यायालयाचे न्यायाधीश श्री शावक वजीरदार, हिमाचल प्रदेशचे मुख्य न्यायाधीश श्री अमजद सय्यद, कर्नाटक उच्च न्यायालयाचे मुख्य न्यायाधीश श्री दिनेश प्रतिनिधी, राजस्थान उच्च न्यायालयाचे मुख्य न्यायाधीश श्री संभाजी शिंदे, श्री नरेश पाटील जी, मुंबई उच्च न्यायालयाचे वरिष्ठ न्यायाधीश श्री नितीन जामदार, मुंबई उच्च न्यायालयाचे सर्व न्यायाधीश, महाराष्ट्राचे मुख्यमंत्री श्री देवेंद्र फडणवीस जी व श्री अजित पवार जी, श्री देवंग गिरीश व्यास, एडिशनल सॉलिसिटर जनरल ऑफ इंडिया, डॉक्टर बीरेंद्र सराफ, महाधिवक्ता महाराष्ट्र राज्य, चीफ सेक्रेटरी मुख्य सचिव श्रीमती सुजाता सौनिक, श्रीमती मनीषा म्हैसकर, श्री संग्राम डी देसाई, अध्यक्ष बार काउंसिल ऑफ महाराष्ट्र आणि गोवा, श्री नितिन ठक्कर, अध्यक्ष बॉम्बे बार असोसिएशन, श्री प्रशांत रेडेकर, अध्यक्ष एडवोकेट्स असोसिएशन ऑफ वेस्टर्न इंडिया, फरजाना बेहराम कामदिन, अध्यक्ष बॉम्बे इनकॉर्पोरेटेड लॉ सोसायटी, मुंबई उच्च न्यायालयाचे रजिस्ट्रार जनरल श्री आर एन जोशी व रजिस्ट्रीचे इतर पदाधिकारी, सुप्रीम कोर्टाचे सेक्रेटरी जनरल श्री अतुल कुरेकर जी, महेश पाटणकर, श्री राकेश शर्मा, बंधू आणि भगिनींनो, मुंबई उच्च न्यायालयाच्या नवीन इमारतीचा पायाभरणी समारंभाच्या निमित्ताने मुंबई उच्च न्यायालय आणि महाराष्ट्र राज्य सरकार यांचे मी मनापासून अभिनंदन करतो. ही इमारत पुढील 100 वर्षाकरता पक्षकार, वकील मंडळी व न्यायाधीशांकरता एक उपयुक्त योगदान देणारी असेल. मुंबई उच्च न्यायालयाचे काम 14 ऑगस्ट 1862 रोजी अपोलो बंदर येथून सुरू झाले आणि साधारण 17 वर्षांनी ते नवीन म्हणजेच सध्या इमारतीत स्थलांतरित झाले. तेव्हापासून आजपर्यंत ही इमारत न्यायालयाचा कारभाराचा भार खंबीरपणे सांभाळत आहे. या तब्बल 150 वर्षाच्या इतिहासात अनेक स्थित्यंतरे आणि बदल या न्यायालयाने पाहिले. या कोर्टाचा लौकिक आणि इतिहास हा फारच दैदिप्यमान आणि प्रेरणादायी आहे. या न्यायालयाने आपल्या देशाला अनेक राष्ट्रीय नेते दिले आहेत. त्यात प्रामुख्याने महात्मा गांधी, भारतरत्न डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर, सरदार वल्लभभाई पटेल, श्री के एम मुंशी, भारतरत्न पी.व्ही. काणे यांचा प्रामुख्याने उल्लेख करावा लागेल. तसंच मुंबई उच्च न्यायालयाने अनेक नामवंत न्यायाधीश आणि वकील यांचीही कारकीर्द घडवली. मुंबई शहर हे आर्थिक, व्यावसायिक औद्योगिक क्षेत्राचे माहेरघर आहे. या अनुषंगाने या न्यायालयात वेगवेगळ्या क्षेत्राची आणि विविध प्रकारचे खटले चालत असतात आणि म्हणूनच मुंबई उच्च न्यायालयाला अनेक सामाजिक, राजकीय आणि शैक्षणिक क्षेत्रातील निवाड्यांचा इतिहास आहे. नवीन इमारत उभारणीच्या निमित्ताने आपण दक्षिणेकडून उत्तरेकडे मार्गस्थ होत आहोत. मार्गस्थ होताना आपण पूर्णपणे दक्षिणेकडे आपली पाठ फिरवली जाईल असे होणार नाही याची दक्षता घेणे तितकेच महत्त्वाचे आहे. काल परत्वे न्यायालयाच्या कामाचा स्वरूप आणि आवाका हा प्रचंड वाढल्याने न्यायालयाची जागा आणि सुविधा यांची आवश्यकता वाढली आहे. नवीन आव्हाने, नवीन उद्दिष्टे आणि न्यायपालिकेच्या भविष्यात्मक दृष्टिकोन त्यातील बदल याचा विचार करता नवीन इमारत ही काळाची गरज आहे. नवीन संगणकीय बदल, डिजिटायझेशन, पेपरलेस कोर्ट्स, ई फायलिंग, न्यायदानाची बदललेली संकल्पना म्हणजे न्याय आपल्या दारी, या सगळ्या बाबींचा विचार करता नवीन इमारत मोठी आणि अद्ययावत बांधणीची असणे हे सगळ्यांसाठी सोयीचे होणार आहे. त्यामुळेच 23 सप्टेंबर 2024 म्हणजे आजचा दिवस हा मुंबई उच्च न्यायालयाच्या कारकिर्दीचा अत्यंत महत्त्वाचा आणि ऐतिहासिक दिवस ठरणार आहे. I'm delighted to return to the city that has been my haven, Mumbai, and to the institution that has shaped me, the Bombay High Court. Not only did I serve as a judge of the Bombay High Court for over 13 years, but my days as a young advocate, learning the ropes of this profession, were also spent in the hallowed corridors of this institution. They say that nothing compares to the sweetness of homecoming, but for me, today's homecoming is like no other. As the court transitions from the old to the new, it symbolizes a remarkable ability to honor our heritage while embracing the challenges of the future. Theater artists are often told that if they respect the stage will respect them. As we celebrate the groundbreaking ceremony of the new High Court complex, we must first pay homage to the heritage building that has been our stage, an architectural marvel that has mentored us all. The heritage building of the Bombay High Court is replete with fascinating stories and hidden gems. Every corner of the building tells a new story. For instance, as you walk through its halls, you will notice intricate carvings of monkey judges and fox advocates peeking out from the pillars, wearing lawyers' bands. Legend has it that these whimsical touches were added by a disgruntled subcontractor as mischievous revenge against the arduous legal system of the law. But there is something more than the visual imagery. It is an important symbol. And what is that symbol? The symbol is that in the hands of wise women and wise men, the law can be an instrument of compassion and justice. But wielded arbitrarily, the law in the same hands can become an instrument of the arbitrary exercise of power and oppression. It is the same law which in colonial times was an instrument of oppression that the post-independence generation of judges and lawyers have wielded in the pursuit of justice to common citizens. The role played by the Bombay High Court in nation building and the evolution of a legal culture that has been emulated across the country cannot be understated. Even during the colonial rule, the High Court bore the unique distinction of being an institution which remained independent of the colonial executive and espoused values of integrity that continue to guide us over 7 decades after independence. Though the formal transfer of power occurred in 1947, when India became independent, a silent transfer of power had been taking place at the bar and bench of the Bombay High Court over several decades. In many ways, the litigants, pleaders, solicitors, and advocates of the court drove the process of its Indianization, such that on the eve of independence, the court was essentially an Indian court and had in fact been one for decades. The corridors and courtrooms of the heritage building of the High Court have witnessed not only the advocacy, but also every day water cooler conversations, or for people like me, the older generation, conversations over Bhatt's cup of tea, conversations of several generations of legal stalwarts, both members of the bar and the bench. To name a few of the distinguished judges and lawyers would run the risk of missing so many. Today, as we celebrate the proposed new complex, let us take a moment to applaud the authorities and heritage conservation agencies who have worked tirelessly to preserve and maintain the iconic Bombay High Court building. That this 150-year-old beauty still buzzes with activity, hosting one of the country's busiest courts, is no small feat. Successive governments, members of the bar and the bench, have put in a tireless effort to keep it running safely and effectively. However, we cannot deny the inevitable. Our cherished old friend is slowly yielding to time. The writing is on the wall, and it is time for a fitting new home for the Bombay High Court. To the romantics and nostalgists, rest assured that the heritage building is not going anywhere. It is always going to be here for us to visit for inspiration and solace. I, for one, will often find myself returning to the words of Lokmanya Gangadhar Tilak, etched on a plaque outside the courtroom where his trial took place. And remember that at the end of the trial, Lokmanya Tilak was sentenced for the offense of sedition to suffer 6 years of imprisonment in Mandalay in Burma. Crossing the plaque innumerable times as a young lawyer, I still remember these words of Lokmanya Gangadhar Tilak. And he said, "In spite of the verdict of the jury, I maintain that I am innocent. There are higher powers that rule the destiny of men and nations, and it may be the will of Providence that the cause which I represent may prosper more by my suffering than by my remaining free." The same traditions were carried on by the Bombay High Court during the years of the emergency, when judges of the Bombay High Court forsake their own careers as judges in support of the cause of liberty and freedom. The proposed new High Court complex is a testament to the transformative power of collaboration between the government, the bar, and the bench. The government made active efforts to identify and allot land for a new High Court complex. However, it faced certain roadblocks. The High Court and the Supreme Court, in response to a letter from the Bombay Bar Association, took suo motu cognizance of the urgent need for accommodation, sparking a chain of events that brings us here today. And I would like to thank all the three associations, the Advocates Association of Western India, the Bombay Bar Association, and the Bombay Incorporated Law Society in coming together. Likewise, I'd like to praise the efforts of my very distinguished colleagues on the bench of the Supreme Court, Justice Gawai, Justice Oak, and of course Justice Dipankar Datta, who was the Chief Justice of the Bombay High Court when critical decisions were taken, and now, of course, Brother Deven Upadhyay. The government's prompt and cooperative action has been commendable, demonstrating a shared commitment to strengthening our judicial infrastructure. As we move forward, our priority must be to expedite construction while ensuring the safety and security of the existing building, which will continue to operate in the interim. To address the pressing space constraints, I am pleased to note that the government is proactively exploring ways to optimize space in nearby buildings to augment the existing complex. This will help bridge the gap until a new complex is operational. In many ways, this ceremony celebrates not only the promise of a modern state-of-the-art facility, but also the spirit of cooperation that has made it possible. Let us all be clear, and let's not be befuddled by our vision. On the judicial side, the judges across the high courts and in the Supreme Court exercise their functions with the fiercest sense of independence. But when it comes to administrative infrastructure, budgeting, we stand together with the government. We stand together because our mission is one and the same. These projects are not private projects for the judges or for the lawyer. These are projects which are created for our citizens. Therefore, let there be no doubt at all, and I have no doubt in my mind, that this sense of collaboration between the state and the judiciary is in the interest of providing modern infrastructure for our citizens. And that sense of collaboration is in the tradition which our courts have wielded over the last 75 years and reflects the strength and maturity of our nation. As we move to a new physical space, undoubtedly our focus must be on modern architecture and innovative facilities. But we must also be cognizant of the fact that the architecture and infrastructure of our court complexes have a direct link with access to justice. When we speak of enhancing accessibility of infrastructure, there are two forms that this takes. The first aspect involves rectifying existing inaccessible systems, often by retrofitting existing infrastructure and buildings. The other form, which assumes even more importance, is ensuring that the new architecture we construct is adequately accessible from the get-go. Several court complexes in our country have been able to retrofit existing constructions to increase access for persons with disabilities by installing facilities such as ramps and tactile strips. But the construction of a new complex for the High Court serves as a unique opportunity to ensure that accessible infrastructure is built into the design of the new complex itself and is not an afterthought. We must ensure that the new infrastructure we create is based on universal design principles, which entails thinking about the design of architecture in a way that enables accessibility for all people to the greatest extent possible. A court complex following the principles of universal design would be accessible not just to people with disabilities, but also to children and to the elderly. I'm hopeful that the planning process will prioritize stakeholder engagement, accessibility audits, and expert consultation to create a truly inclusive space. Let us focus on two critical stakeholders. The judiciary is witnessing a demographic shift. More and more women lawyers are entering the Indian judiciary, both as judges and as lawyers. States like Maharashtra, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh are seeing more than 50% of the new entrants into the judiciary in the form of women. Likewise, more and more women lawyers are entering into the legal profession. They have special needs which have to be looked after by creating safe and inclusive spaces of work for women. Women do not expect concessions. They expect equal opportunity. And the physical infrastructure which we create will define the sort of society we will create for women in the next 50 or 100 years. As we invest in modernizing our physical courtroom infrastructure through architecture and construction, it is equally crucial for us as judges and administrative members to also prioritize advancements in our digital infrastructure. I'm delighted that we have inaugurated today the E-Seva Kendras and the Bombay Digital Law Reports. Let us all understand what the mission is all about. The E-Committee of the Supreme Court is ensuring that we translate our judgments into every language which is recognized by the Constitution. Nearly 2,000 judgments of the Supreme Court, as Justice Oak informed me, have been now translated into Marathi. 37,000 judgments of the Supreme Court since independence have already been translated into English, into Hindi, using machine learning and artificial intelligence. And this movement is now taking place all over the country. The idea is that the work which we do as judges must be taken to the doorstep for those who we are intended to serve. Gone are the days of scouring through rows of dusty law manuals with students, researchers and lawyers searching tirelessly for relevant case law. The use of virtual platforms, such as the Bombay Digital Law Reports, will revolutionize legal research. Such facilities must remain free, ensuring equal access for all members of the legal fraternity. There are young lawyers who cannot afford the cost of private law reports. We must provide these facilities to them so that they can access these facilities even though they do not have the resources to pay for them. Ensuring that access to our judgments and orders is free not only benefits members of the fraternity, but also brings our institutions closer to ordinary citizens. Judgments of our courts are no longer the preserve of those with legal training and are now easily accessible to a broader audience, litigants, members of the government, journalists, and members of civil society. As the judgments of our constitutional courts enter the discourse of common citizens, the values embedded in our Constitution will also be injected into their daily lives. In this way, initiatives like the Bombay Digital Law Reports serve a larger purpose. By making judgments readily accessible, they facilitate a deeper understanding of our constitutional values among citizens. After all, the Constitution has within it the ability to produce a social catharsis. By bringing the Constitution closer to the people, we edge closer to realizing this potential for social transformation, paving the way for a more just, aware, and vibrant society. I will conclude my address with an ode inspired by the song Koi Kahe, Kehta Rahe from the iconic film Dil Chahta Hai. Maybe I've been inspired because the Bombay High Court now moves a little closer to Bollywood, at least spatially. The lyrics of the song, Hum Hain Naye, Andaz Kyun Ho Purana, resonates deeply as we embark on this new chapter. I'm hopeful, or rather certain, that as we move towards the High Court with a Naya Andaz, we will build on the values, the ideals, and the rich legacy of our foreparents of the court while embracing innovation and progress. I thank the Learned Chief Justice, the Government of Maharashtra, and everyone associated with this function, particularly the committee which has looked after every little detail of this event with such precision. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I'll cherish this opportunity to speak at this function for the rest of my days. Namaskar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.